Nice. Hello and welcome back to Tooks on Twitch. Back today with a Green White Black Maverick list. This is Achilles' list. It's doing pretty well right now. I've been really enjoying it. I do like Black Splash, of course, because of the added removal you get. Cards like Plague Engineer, Kaya, Abrupt Decay. It's been really nice. So one thing that I do like with this list is the really easy sideboard. So you kind of have your gotcha cards in Choke and Leyline, your removal in Path and Vraska, your Chalice, your Deafening Silence and Gaddock Teeg for the combo matchups. And then we have a pretty tight Green Suns package. So anything from Hex Drinker at 1 to Questing Beast at 4. Really have threats the whole way, which is nice. One interesting choice is Knight of Autumn over Qasali Pride Mage. I think this is a few things. Knight, of course, is the better value because you don't have to sacrifice the Knight to actually deal with an artifact or enchantment, which is really nice. You also get to kind of keep up with some of the value decks. So if your opponent is stumbling on mana and they have a Astrolabe out, they've already drawn a card off the Astrolabe. So if you trade your Qasali Pride Mage with the Astrolabe, you're going to be down a card. The thing about Knight is that you get to play it, and then the ETB allows you to, of course, deal with the Astrolabe without losing a card. Your opponent then has to deal with the Knight as well, which is kind of cool. Knight also a little bit better against Show and Tell because it stops your opponent from being able to put in Omniscience and then have priority to cast a creature. Knight doesn't really do anything against the Cunning Wish lines, but I think it's worth noting that it's pretty good there. It's also really nice because if you want to gain life, you can gain life. If you don't want to, it's a lot more relevant in matchups where Qasali isn't relevant. So say something like Elves, where artifacts or enchantments aren't really part of the matchup. You can just make this a 4/3 and start putting down, or maybe gain some life if you think that that's going to be relevant. The mana base here is also pretty nice. So 2 Bayous, 2 Savannas, 1 Scrub Land, 2 Forests and a Plains. I think you could even cut one of the basic forests because of how much Wasteland isn't seeing play right now outside of Rug Delver. And maybe play something like a Blast Zone, an extra fetch land, even just a random utility land if you wanted to play a second Pain land. The only reason that I don't usually play a second Pain land is that the draws where you have both can be really punishing, especially against like aggressive decks like Delver. Kaya's been exceptional. I think Kai is one of the most underrated black cards in Legacy right now. People just don't really understand it either. They don't understand how easy it is just to fire off the ulti and win from them. We've had a few wins thanks to Kaya. And really our opponent just not really having a good understanding of the pressure of the ultimate and how fast you can just get to 5. Your opponent has 12 cards in the exile and you have them on 11 or something, which is pretty cool. Decay, of course, is really nice as well. There's some merit to Trophy if you're running into things like Hooting Mantrels or Jace, and it also deals with lands, which is kind of cool, but I think Decay right here is just so nice. It's really good to have a removal spell against something like Rug Delver that you know is not going to get spell snared, it's not going to get dazed or forced, it's going to happen. Outside of something like Veil of Summer post-board, I think Decay is just the best removal spell right now for Maverick. Even though Swords is of course really good and very versatile, I think that the uncounterability of Decay and also the versatility of it, going for both creatures, planeswalkers, artifacts, enchantments, whatever. Decay is just in a really good spot. That's pretty much it. Let's see how this goes. Hopefully someone in chat can tell me if the music is an okay level and you guys can hear me fine. Because of course I don't want it too loud. My only other thought was a second Sylvan Library, but I do like Connor's rationale for 4 once and 3 Green Suns, because there are some matchups where you just don't want to see the second library. Usually if you have the first one down, you can fetch the other one away, but it doesn't always happen, so this should be pretty good. Hey, thanks Ray, very cool. Alright, let's get in. I haven't played Legacy since Sunday, and MTGO since Sunday, and it just seems like a long time ago. Oh, we don't have play points? How many play points we got? 80? Okay, we'll open up one chest. There we go. Oh, that's only 90? Okay. 5. There we go. Okay. We are playing a Legacy League with Achilles. This one. Cool. Nice. I don't usually get to stream on Friday mornings, which is really nice. Usually I stream on Thursday nights, but just had some personal things to look forward to, so yeah, get to play this morning. Hope you guys are well. Got my coffee, which is good. I think the last time we ran this league, we got a 4-1, which is pretty nice, but I haven't cracked a 5-0 in a while, which is a little bit rough. Just got to play a little bit tighter. But I always feel like I run into one of those decks that just kind of have it before I can set up. Snow's also pretty rough. Snow is a deck that can grind very well, so Maverick kind of gets put in its place against Snow sometimes. And that isn't a great feeling when one of your big strengths is, of course, grinding against these mid-range decks where Snow just fires you out of the park. I've seen Mark as well doing really well on this kind of list. So this is a 4-color list that Mark Strassman's been playing, and I think it has like 6 trophies, which is pretty insane. So still plenty. No, this is this version. This was the version he was playing around with Brainstorm. This is a different version. Force of Vigor wasn't main deck for sure. It looks like there's some. That's right. We did some sideboarding on camera. And that's why. But yeah, this is it. Pretty sweet. So you get to play Clots, you get to play a Stoneforge package, you get to play Oko, Punishing Fire as additional removal, and then the board you have Meddling Mage for decks like Show and Tell or Doomsday, which I really like. This deck is a huge amount of fun to play with, and it's just nice to play with Stoneforge again. I think Stoneforge is kind of in a rough spot, so I think one reason a lot of people moved away from Punishing Fire as well is that it just doesn't kill Arcanist, which is pretty huge. You know, you can try to wait to have 5 mana and return it with a Grove, but by then they're probably dealing with it. Hey Ernby, haha, very cool. Yeah, a little early morning surprise, which is nice to play. But yeah, this deck was very cool. Mark came on for the first episode of Inside the Maverick. Hey Dark Cloud, haven't seen your Legacy recently. Hope you're doing well. But yeah, if you guys want to check it out, you can check out the video here where Mark and I go through these 3 lists. So Punishing Maverick, and then also I got my match. Rough. And then also the 4-color versions that he came up with, which is pretty sweet. Late for UK times? Yeah, it would be nearly midnight. Yeah, 1:30. Nice. Well, thanks for coming in and saying hey. Hope you're well. Yeah, it's fair enough. Uni always takes priority. Especially right now. I'm assuming it's a little bit more complicated with classes and getting ready for assessment without having the ability to go in for shoots and lectures, but hopefully it's okay. Ooh. Oh. Coffee is very good. Pretty sure Achilles took this list to a top 16 finish in the challenge 2 weeks ago, which is very cool to see. It's always good to see Maverick doing well. But now's the time to really take it up. Super ill, that's not good. I'm pretty good, thank you. Life's pretty good. So for work, we've been moved to 4-day work weeks since probably like 3 months ago. So it's nice to have Fridays off, which is kind of cool. Not in a financial position where I have to kind of worry, which is nice with me and my partner. So we've just been really, yeah, enjoying it. Yeah, Legacy is always pretty fun to watch. Okay, we're up against Matter. Not too sure what they're on. This should be pretty interesting. And this hand is pretty acceptable. So we have a turn 1 mana accelerant into Green Suns for Dryad Arbor. And then turn 2 we have a bunch of pretty good plays. So either Thalia playing around Daze, Plague Engineer. I'm definitely going to keep this. It doesn't have 1/1 removal outside of Plague Engineer, but I think this hand is fine. Okay, so it looks like it's going to be Reanimator. So I assume if they go for something turn 1, we might just concede just to hide what we're on. You can see like Faithless Looting into like a Reanimate. This is going to be a tricky one, especially on the draw. White. What are they cracking it for white for? Did they just I think they cracked their Lotus Petal for white instead of black, and they've just conceded on the spot, which is pretty rough for them because, hey, Eternal Magic, I'm going to assume our opponent has no idea what we're on and how we're going to board. So the Reanimator player here is going to have to choose between, are we on Ley Lines, are we on Surgicals and Fairy Macabres? This is going to be pretty interesting. So I definitely like the Ley Lines. I usually like the Deafening Silences, but I think we'll put them in a maybe pile. The inside the deck is very cool. It features a few people, but it's cool to go back and see like how the deck was with like 4 Tarmogoyfs back in the day. What do I like taking out? Collector Oof is a little bit slow. Ramanap's definitely too slow. Plagues are too slow. Questing Beast is interesting. Hexdrink is always interesting as well, especially if they're quite aggressive with their Grizzlebrands, but usually in that spot we're losing anyway, so I think we're definitely taking out these. Yeah, the core of the deck definitely looks the same, which is very cool. There's just a few subtle changes, like the old... Yeah, Noble Thalia, Knight, Green Suns, Wasteland, Swords, which is pretty sweet. I mean, it's very cool to see the deck this similar. I'm going to take out the Knight. I think that maybe the Decays actually go first. Decay can hit Animate Dead, but that's about it. Chalice is actually okay, probably. And maybe like 1 extra path. So I would say the Ley Lines are necessary, and these are kind of just additional if we have space. The Onces are still nice. It's interesting, Collector Oof and Chalice kind of have the same role, because a lot of the time it'll just be a Chalice for 0 to try to slow them down. I might just go... Library's going to be too slow, and Collector Oof. And then we have these. I like this a lot. Just having a quick check. Maybe 1 extra path. Just in case they do bring in a plan that does play around like some early aggressive creatures. So this is a fine hand, but I think because we have Leyline, we can mulligan pretty aggressively, especially as our opponent didn't see what we're on in game 1. But surely I have to find it. Okay, and this is actually quite keepable hand because we also have Caracas, which is really nice. 3 cards on the bottom. I'm going to put back the Knight. I'm going to put back the Wasteland and probably the Swords. I think this is fine because then we can cast everything and we also have the benefit of being able to ramp into Dryad Arbor so that turn 2 we can cast something like Knight. Chancellor's fine. Are you? Wow, they brought in Reverend Silence. Nuts. We also know about Chancellor, so we can't cast the Green Suns yet. Kai is pretty nice, though. We don't know about the Chancellor, though, so the Krakus isn't as good as it could be. But heads up to my opponent for bringing the Reverend Silencers in the blind. Unmasked Pritching Grizzlebrand. Okay. Two cards left. We know one is Chancellor, so this isn't too bad. Knight. So that's pretty nice because now we get to go land. We can Green Suns for Dried Arbor and pay for it around Chancellor. Get Dried Arbor, and the next time we have Knight online. So I kind of just hope our opponent doesn't have anything in the end step here. No, okay. So we know one card is Chancellor, and then two unknowns. Entomb's pretty good. Even like Grave Titan here would be pretty good. Ashen Rider, okay. Take out Krakus, that's fine. Hierarch. Can't really attack this turn. But at least next turn we do have Knight online if they don't get the Chancellor into play. We gain 5 with the Reverend Silence, which is nice. Oh, maybe we gain 6 actually. Yeah. Swords. Well, that's pretty nice because it actually exiles the Ashen Rider. So this is an interesting one. Would I rather have the Knight in play or deal with this Ashen Rider? I think it's actually deal with Ashen Rider here. I probably am a little bit more concerned about something like an Unmask or like a Duress or Thoughtseize on the sword because this Ashen Rider is their current way to win. You just made Punishing Maverick? Very cool. Sweet deck. Obviously has a really good community as well on the Maverick Discord, which is sweet. Alright, this is the big turn. This is where we really need nothing to happen. So it's just land with Chancellor in hand. Okay, we can deal with that. A land here would be sweet because then we can keep pressuring. But Knight's going to do it. Yeah, Palace Jailer is pretty sweet. I do like Palace Jailer in Punishing Maverick because you have the extra removal to deal with go-wide strategies. Hey F-Balls, welcome. Hope you're well. Maverick Black is pretty nice. It's obviously not in the greatest position, but it's always a nice deck to come back to and play. You know the green spell kind of life. It's good to see Titan Vial doing so well. Really impressive. The deck looks really fun to play. So they got rid of the Chancellor. Do they have a follow-up? Yeah, it looks really fun. Animate Dead on Chancellor. Okay, that's gonna be fine. I feel like we can race this. Path. Okay, well that's pretty sweet. So I could path in their upkeep, but I think just pathing here is fine because then we can still attack as well. Maybe I want to take them off green as well to play around Abrupt Decay. So I might just go path this, pay the 1. guess we'll see what basic they get. Probably just a basic swamp. Okay. Just let this resolve. Cool. Sack this. Get a wasteland and take them off green. Yeah, it's interesting to see Ponza come around full circle, and now it's in a pretty good position. Seems like it has some really powerful cards in like Clots, Ren and 6, of course. You get access to some pretty fast beaters as well. They do usually play Decay out of the board, either Decay or Trophy. Probably more so Trophy because it also deals with Leyline. Plains. Let's draw a card first because it builds the knight as well. Another knight, okay. It's kind of cool. Yeah, I would probably say that they would play Trophy over Decay. Unless they really wanted to deal with like Delvers, but I think Reanimator has a pretty good Delver matchup. I am playing Cradle, which is nice. So we can get this knight into play next turn no matter what. I mean, even just with another Reliquary in play, we can. Savannah. A land's actually perfect here because I get to keep applying pressure and then also attack with knight. Always one time. There we go. Ah, interesting. Yeah, I could have definitely cast the second knight last turn. But it looks like the writing's on the wall, which is nice. Thankfully, I don't think they have a creature to reanimate, which is kind of nice. And they've already used up their Faithless Looting, but... Yeah, interesting to see our opponent in the blind bringing in Reverend Silence, but luckily getting there. Hey, Jolan. Welcome. Yeah, the mull was interesting, because we got to mull to Leyline in the blind, which is nice, but our opponent did have the silence, so... It would have been interesting to see how that 7 would have gone with the first hand, even if they have a slow one. Yeah, I think the big push for Maverick is that with Green Suns, you kind of can play around with what you want to play, not so much what everyone else is playing, which is kind of cool. Yeah, pretty sad about recent Cradle Spike, but especially for those, I know at least one friend who was building elves, and they were leaving Cradle for the last bit, and they're obviously now kind of feeling a bit rough. And I think it's a good reason why you should probably build a deck sometimes from the most expensive to least expensive. Get the big cards first, because if something like this happens, then it's a pretty rough way to try to finish the deck, if you're even going to finish it. But yeah, that's that's always going to be a little bit expected, unfortunately, with reserve list cards, and even CEDH popping up around the place. Yeah, it's actually quite interesting to see how far Stoneforge Mystic has fallen off the legacy metagame. Buttery Nugget. Interesting. This hand is pretty sweet, especially with the once. Hey, I've been there. I remember the first time that I went to a GP in my local town, I saw Tabernacle, which is the one card that I wanted, for $300, and I was like, that's way too expensive for a card. Hey, Dead to be a Donut. We're definitely keeping this. This is nice as well because we have two pretty good turn 2 plays, but they really depend on what we draw into. or at least what our opponent shows us. So these might even not be the best thing to play on turn 2. I kind of want to find a creature like Thalia or Knight off the once that I can cast, and then once I have more information, I can know what to use these two for. I'm going to once first, because I'm not sure what I want shuffled back into the deck. Wasteland's perfect. Sorry, Thalia is perfect. So, what do I want to do here? Pretty happy just to fetch a basic and play the Noble. I have no idea what my opponent is on, but I can keep the Windswept Heath for a scrub land, which allows me to cast everything else, which is kind of nice. This also means we can cast the Knight through something like a Blood Moon, which is kind of cool. Underground Sea. Retrofitter. Okay. Okay. Interesting. So I can't blow up the Ornithopter because they can just sack it to create a 4/4. I'm actually not sure if Ninjas plays Daze. I know they play Force, and I feel like they could play Daze. So is there reasoning to play the Thalia first and then just play the Knight? Yeah. Yeah, I like Thalia as well. I'm not in too big of a hurry to kill the Retrofitter. And it also means that if I can play this Knight with a little bit more certainty, then I'm pretty happy. Ah, if it's bugged, they don't? Okay. They're going to create a 4/4. Alright. Pretty nice. Yeah, double Underground Sea probably gives that away. Attack first. What are they following up with? Thoughtseize would be pretty good for them. Another Retrofitter would be pretty gas as well. Fatal Push. Okay, that's not too bad. Knight. Knight's pretty sweet. But here, we're just going to try to deal with this Retrofitter Foundry. Hey Vic, thank you very much. Hope you're well. We can attack with the Noble here, which is nice. Just get in one extra point. And then hopefully we can just take 4 a few times and then play this Knight as a 5/5 or bigger. But yeah, Ninjas is an interesting matchup because a lot of the time you don't want to deal with the Ornithopters or the Changeling, the Outcast. I can do 6 CL, let's be honest. Here's a question. If they play a Changeling, can I name anything with Plague Engineer and the Changeling dies, or do I have to name Changeling? Speaking of, I can name anything? Interesting. I probably want to name Servo. Or maybe it's actually Thopter. I think it's Thopter because with another Retrofitter Foundry, they can just make something as a 1/1 flyer. Alright, let's go for Scrubland. Yeah, cool. Play Plague. Name Bird for Strix. Yeah, that's a good one as well. I think there's a world where I block this 4/4 with the Plague Engineer, but 1, 2, 3. If I draw into a fetch land or a wasteland, then this knight's going to be a 5/5. So maybe I give it one more turn. This feels like a fatal push if they're fetching in step. No? Okay. Yeah, I'm pretty happy to block here. I'm not 100% sure that I'm going to draw the knight, and they do have a little bit of reach with their ninjas. That I'm pretty happy just to have the clear board. Yeah. Okay, that's pretty nice. Let's attack first. One card for my opponent. Land. Retrofitter. Okay. A little bit annoying, but not the worst. So they currently have access to 4 mana. So they can create a... They can't create... Oh, they can create a 4/4. Because they can tap it for 1, create a Thopter, untap it for 3, and then sack the Thopter for a 4/4. Okay. Verdant. Yeah, so I assume they make a servo to block, and then either trade with like another Knight of Autumn, and then sack it. If they want to. Ah, you gotta sack the servo. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, then it's probably worth getting in with the knight here as a 6/6. And then I'll probably just get land and... Oh, they might even just create something and block. Guess we'll see if they block. Okay. That's fine. Yeah, I guess I wasn't in a position where I felt like I wanted to trade the Knight of Autumn for a 1/1. But here we can start going a little bit wider with Dried Arbor. And I'm going to keep this fetch land around because I might want to draw into Sylvan Library and then shuffle. Once is pretty sweet. Huh. Alright, I guess we take the birds. I guess I could have gotten extra damage in there if I fetched before damage. I just missed that step. Just one of those things on MTGO that you do that you just kind of forget about. No attacks. Alright. Scrib range is pretty cool. I guess that means I can draw a card now if I want. Get Canopy. Draw with Canopy. Collect Oof is pretty sweet. Play Oof. Now, at least if they sack this, they're in a position that they have to block the knight, so we get in 3 extra damage here, so that 1 damage from last turn actually comes into play as pretty relevant. Yeah, they need to fetch to make a 4/4, which is kind of nice for us. And they're just going to concede, okay. Interesting, so probably just didn't think they had a spot out of it. This is an interesting one. I don't mind the chokes, but I'm not sure if I want both. I want both for consistency reasons, to make sure I see one of them, but I don't really need both of them in a match. But I think the maybe play is probably just these 3. Gaddock doesn't really do a whole lot. Path is interesting, but I think we kind of have the creatures covered in Plague, Decay, and Swords. I can probably drop some amount of Thalia on the draw. Yeah. Even maybe just down to like 1 Thalia. Especially if I'm bringing in non-creature spells, I do want to kind of make sure that I'm not taxing myself too often. I still like Oof. Scavenging Ooze is interesting. I don't think it really has a role in this matchup. I think Path number 1 is just better than Skooz. Kai is still relevant, especially with the amount of creatures that they have at 1 CMC or lower, and also Retrofit Foundry. Ramanap Wasteland is a pretty good lock. Knight of Autumn is a great card to deal with multiple threats of theirs. Knight's great. I think this is probably the 60 that I'm happy with. I still like Questing Beast as well, because it's not the easiest thing to block. Yeah, Thalia can be awkward because a lot of the creatures are bigger than X2s. So maybe we take out the 4th Thalia for another path. The one reason that I like Vraska is it's just one more way to deal with a Retrofit Foundry, because that's most likely the way they win this game, is going wide with that. I'm going to see how this goes, and if there is a game 3, we can come back to the board and reevaluate. But yeah, sadly, the 2/1 body of Thalia just isn't in a great spot right now in Legacy in general. This is a pretty nice hand, actually. We have a turn 1 Swords, and then we have Collector Oof as well, so I'm going to keep this. So the big question is that I always have is, do I Swords the Changeling, or do I try to Swords the creature that comes off it? And I think it's just dealing with the Changeling here. I don't want to play around and be too fancy. Strix is fine. So Caracas answers the 1/3 ninja, but I'm not the biggest fan of swordsing the bird. But if they do return it, then they get obviously extra value off it. So I think I'm just sticking on the same plan here. I'm gonna force that pitching standstill. They play standstill? Interesting. So this is an interesting one. I can keep them off a planes in that, a basic in their turn by waiting till upkeep, but that does allow them to untap and maybe hold up soft counter magic or something like Drown in the Lock if they play Drown in the Lock. So I think I'm happy just to stay on the same plan. Yeah, Krakus is a nice answer, which is pretty cool. Changeling. Ugh. That's pretty good. I'm probably going to try to crack the standstill either in their attack phase or in their end step. So we'll see how this plays out. I'm going to assume it's the one that draws a card when it makes when it deals combat damage. Yeah. So I'm probably pretty happy to try to stand still, try to swords this. I could also wait for end step so they can't recast anything. Maybe that's actually the better play. Especially if we swordsed it and then second main they just went land standstill again. That'd be pretty crushing. If I had the patience, I could probably also wait. To see if they got to like 7 cards and then do it. Script range is pretty nice. Yeah, standstill's tough. Because I assume they're going to draw the extra card off that. I feel like they have Fatal Push because they just tried to Fatal Push, but of course they need to fetch first. If I draw land, I'd probably hold up the Script Ranger and cast the Collector Oof. Last Hope's pretty good. But they didn't tick it up. That is very interesting. Not sure what the play there is. Last Hope is worse when you don't use it. They still have 5 cards in hand. This feels like a murderous cut. Okay. Interesting. Can't cast the Script Ranger into the Liliana, unfortunately. But we do have the Abrupt Decay for it, which is nice. And our opponent obviously doesn't have any ninjas in hand because they didn't attack with the Ornithopter. Probably just attacking for value here. Alright. So at least if this happens again, we do have the chance to flash in the Script Ranger to deal with the Baleful Strix, which is nice. Green Suns is interesting, but I don't think it does anything here with this Liliana in play. I don't want to get Bird. Yeah, I think here it's just a pass back. So here we get to see if they tick up on the Collector Oof and then go to attacks, which is kind of nice. Because now they can't deal with the Script Ranger in our turn. Brainstorm. Okay. Yeah, sadly a little bit far from Plague Agenda yet, because we need the Black Source as well. We'll definitely block here. Hey, Dark Cloud, thanks for the 4-month sub. That's very nice. Thank you very much. Hopefully, see you when Uni dies down. Be cool to get Eldrazi back into the Upper Mount Gravatt format. Infiltrator's gonna be okay. Hey, Bill Jackson, thanks for the follow. Let me know where you're from. If you play Legacy, what you play in Legacy. Whew, this is a tough one. So much value from our ninjas. Maybe another Strix, Changeling, and then just hold up blue. They have Retrofitter? Okay. Cradle. Ooh, interesting. Could Green Suns for Questing Beast here. That's pretty sweet. I think Questing Beast is just the play. Definitely the most fun. I could also go for Ramanap, but then I can't get back Wasteland the same turn. I think it's Questing Beast just because it deals with the, at least attacks the Thalia. Oh, the Liliana, sorry. practice. We'll see how it goes. They did brainstorm, so I assume they have something like a force here. Unfortunately. Wow. Attack Lily, attack them. Submerge? Rough. Submerge is pretty good. No blocks. It's pretty rough that it's whenever a ninja you control, so they get to draw 3 there. I sadly think this game is over. But at least we do have a game 3 coming up. We have 12 minutes. Surely they have an out to this. Oh, okay. At least this tells us they brought in Liliana's Triumph. I guess they can also make a 4/4. But it looks like they don't. Interesting. Maybe they feel like they just have it. This is a free block. We got a 2. I guess we can't draw into Black Source and Plague Engineer, so pretty rough, but we'll see what happens. Yeah. Okay. I don't know if I want the extra paths, because I don't want to be stuck with too much removal and not enough actual action. I'm probably happy just sending this back. Because it'll make good sense. I'm pretty happy with the 2 extra paths. I don't think we need the extra 1. This is a hand. Probably a little bit too mana intensive. I kind of want to keep like a Noble Hierarch start with some sort of a aggressive turn 2, like a Knight or a Kaya. Okay, I'll keep this and bottom the Dryad Arbor. I'm missing that Black Source, but we have a few ways to get there, which is nice. That was game 2. There's also a thought of just playing a knight there as a 4-3 to kind of play around standstill. Because that would be pretty brutal. Alright, there's our black source. I'm going to keep this for now. I think we just want to play with, deal with the Baleful Strix attack, and then next turn we can hopefully get rid of whatever the Changeling Outcast puts in. Fetch is always scary. Plague Engineer. Okay, not the worst. See what they name. Human, okay. If I attack, I think it shows weakness. It shows that maybe I have humans in hand. So I'm not going to attack. I'm just going to play Windswept. So if they Changeling in the 4-drop, I can't Decay it or Vrasker it, which is pretty rough. So I think I'm going to go to their turn and see what happens. I kind of want to get them down to 1 threat on board. Wait, what is ninjutsu? Can they ninjutsu this now because it's attacking? Or does that have to be after blocks? Ninjutsu is... Okay, after blocks are declared. Okay, that's not too bad. Come on, no creature. 4 mana. Okay. Leyline? That's fine. More than fine. Alright. Now we can start trying to take over this game. I played the Windswept because I want to get Dried Arbor. Yeah, maybe the ley line's just to stop Knight. All right. Eureka is a scary one, but thankfully we have this I guess I could once for Caracas. But it doesn't do a whole lot with the Changeling on board. Alright, now let's go for... Probably gonna hold up this mana. Yeah, there's the Cradle. Oh, there's the Caracas. I wonder if they found another one. Free attack. Because if I find Caracas, then I should have swords the Changeling, and then just held up Caracas for the Uriel. So maybe that was incorrect to not once first. That's fine. All right. Strix is pretty good. Ugh. Scrib Ranger just doesn't really do it. I'm not going to use the green here. Happy to see if they block. They don't, which is nice. Play Wasteland. Happy to Wasteland. So this is pretty nice, because if it all goes right, we can block with the Dried Arbor as well, and then return it to hand before damage. Hardcast Force. I think just blocking with Dried Arbor is fine. It stops them from drawing an extra card, which is nice. Rough. So many cheap spells from my opponent. Yeah, these changelings can get out of hand. I really need, like, Plague Engineer ASAP. Ramming up. Doesn't really get there. Especially with the Leyline in play, it doesn't really do anything. I think sadly we've just got to the position where they've got so much value off each of their creatures that even something like Swords to Plowshares or Path now is just so bad, because they've already got, you know, 2 or 3 cards off most of their creatures. Yeah, play would be sweet. Something like Zealous Persecution, perhaps, over the extra Part to Exile in the board would be kind of cool. Draw a card. Of course. I don't really want to sack anything here, so I'm just going to tick it up and pass. I wasn't sure if I was going to tap the Bayou of the Scrubland there, but maybe I should have tapped the Scrubland for the Horizon Canopy because we had a white source through the Karakas. I just didn't want to crack the Karakas. 5 mana end step. Is this just a hard cast submerge? Murderous card. That's fine. I mean, I'm getting to a position where this Hex Drinker hopefully just gets there, but it's going to take some amount of time. They draw like 5 cards here, or 4 cards. Yeah. Retrofit is pretty good. Double Retrofit is just pretty much game. All right. I also have the option here of green sunning for 2 to stop Retrofitter if they don't respond and we can get Collector Oof. But I think just because Hex Drink is kind of our only out here that I have to go all in on the Hex Drinker. Yeah, I have the push. Rough. Can't do much there. Just didn't really have any interaction. Getting them down to 1 creature was great for the Vraska, but yeah, we just couldn't keep up with their value. Yeah, I was probably still alive, but I don't think I was winning that game in any way. I don't even think Drawing the Engineer does it because they can start turning their 2 Thopters into 4/4s. So they have pretty much 10 damage either way. Sadly, just Drawing the Engineer isn't as easy as just Drawing the Engineer. I wish it was. But yeah, maybe there's something else that I need for ninjas in the board. Because it's always tough because you kind of need a removal spell for the Enabler and then also for the ninja. Because that 4-drop ninja was a big issue, especially that we can't deal with it with Abrupt Decay. That was pretty rough. This is fine. This is a little bit interesting because of the Cradle being our second land, but I'm going to keep it. Okay. Pretty happy to play Bird here and maybe keep the Green Suns until I really know what I want it against. This kind of feels like a Show and Tell deck and not a Delver deck, but could be wrong. Just a pass. Interesting. Another Plague. I'm gonna go Canopy into Thalia here. Does run into Spell Snare, but I think that's okay. It could be Storm. If they're brainstorming in response to Thalia, that's probably more that they have counter magic in the deck. Underground Sea. Another Ponder. I mean, if they play a Petal here, then I'm very happy to go and get Collector Oof with this Guy's Cradle. Another Thalia. Cradle, and then 2 paying for Thalia, and then 2. I think next turn, if nothing changes, we just play the Plague Engineer on Goblin, just to get some more pressure on the board. Because an attack here puts them down to 12, which would be a 2-turn clock with the Plague Engineer in play. One top, one bottom. Okay. Wasteland would be really nice. Skoos is interesting. So we get to attack for 4, put them to 12. And then it might just be... I could also draw a card with the Canopy. I definitely want to play Ooze. So it's a case of, do we want to play Plague Engineer and Ooze? Or do we want to go one of each and then draw a card? Maybe I want to draw a card first. Kaya. That's pretty sweet. We can't cast it yet. Skoos is fine. And then I'm just going to eat something of theirs. This doesn't change the clock either, which is nice. I guess Preordain's the card that is different to the others. Strix. Interesting. Huh. That's not the worst because we have the Engineer. That's just not a card that I thought would be in this deck. Lotus Petal Baleful Strix. Well, that is an interesting one. So again, let's just go for Plague. Name bird. Use one of the green to eat it. Play Heath. Might as well use this. All right. This is interesting. I haven't seen this sort of list before. They're obviously having a bit of a count. We do have some good sideboard cards for this sort of deck. Deafening Silence, Gaddock Teeg, Chalice. I'm not sure if we need the ley lines. Ley lines usually against Tess for the echo lines, but otherwise I don't really care about them. So we're definitely bringing in Chalice, Deafening Silence, and Gaddock Teeg. Pretty happy to take out the 4 swords, and probably some number of Decay. Choke's actually pretty interesting. Not really what you want to be doing against combo, but I think it's probably better than some things we're doing here. I don't think Caracas will be relevant. This seems fine. See how it plays. This hand is pretty sweet. Turn 1 to Deafening Silence, turn 2 Thalia, or turn 2 Ramp into Choke. And then we have a beater in Questing Beast, so see how this plays out. Probably pretty happy just to get a scrub land here. Have all our colors online and just play Deafening Silence. Badlands. Strix. Okay. Heath. I feel like we're just playing Thalia here. Just to keep that pressure going. I could Wasteland the Badlands because it lines up pretty well with the Choke, where I can Wasteland their non-island jewels and then land the Choke, but this is probably still fine. Come on, blue land. Nice. Pond is okay. I can't play the choke next turn because of Thalia, but I can Green Suns for Dried Arbor and also Wasteland in the same turn, which is pretty sweet. Which means the following turn I can play choke. No attacks is really interesting as well because the Thalia has first strike. So I'm pretty happy to attack first. And if they're not going to block, I'm not sure why they didn't attack. Interesting one. Let's play Wasteland, and then let's Green Suns for Dried Arbor. Nice, and then Wasteland the Badlands because it doesn't get hit by choke. Three Underground Seas, which is pretty nice for us, and my opponent's also in a position where they kind of have to keep doing something here. Happy to attack first with Thalia. Play the Force game. What's going to resolve? That's interesting. Maybe they try to go off without the choke being relevant. It's a tough one for sure, because next time we get Questing Beast down as well. This is really where you want to be against a combo deck where you have a nice piece of turn 1 interaction. Turn 2, you have more interaction but also pressure. And then you keep a good mix of pressure and interaction going. But it's also a slow clock so far, so if they do have an out here, then it's going to be tough to come back from. But the Questing Beast is at least... Oof. Doomsday. Interesting. We do have the Questing Beast, which I don't think they took into consideration, which is kind of nice. Because that in itself is pretty much a turn 2 clock. Or pretty close to it. I wonder what their pile is, because this is a tough one for them. Kai is pretty cool, but I think here we're just going for fetch into Savannah. Beast. Not sure if they can do this. I hope they can't win here. I'd be very surprised if they could, and all credit to them if they can. But I think this is a little bit too tough. I just kicked my monitor. I'll be 1 second. We won? Nice. So I assume they thought they could win before the Thalia and Dryad Arbor could do it, or even like a Knight off the top because it takes a turn to come online, but luckily... Yeah, I assume it was unwinnable, but I think the beast there is the big piece. I assume it would be something like Street Wraith, the other card that allows you to draw. It'd be tough. It'd be tough. Let's say that. Sadly, no lands. We'll mulligan this. This is better. I'm going to keep this. And probably bottom the Knight, because Decay kind of does the same thing. But has a little bit more versatility. And Knight I can find with Green Suns if I really need it. Yeah, the Brazilian players are doing really well with Oh, it's my turn one? Oh, interesting. All right, let's go for basic forest into noble. I feel like they gave us the play, which is interesting. Because we didn't win that, did we? Oh, we did. Okay, my bad. But hey, Saito, hope you're well. Hope everything's doing okay in Brazil. Just a preordain. That's pretty interesting. Of a snow-covered island. Huh. Maybe I just want to go for Hex Drinker. Because at least it's a bit of pressure. I'm gonna tap like this because if this doesn't resolve, I can still attack with the Noble Hierarch. Wow, opponent going to force it. Pitching Brainstorm. Okay. Yeah, Miguel, and also Dark Cloud. There is a Legacy Winter Duel coming up at Good Games Spring Hill, which is very cool. So hopefully we see a few players there. Everything's really good, thanks, Saito. Life's good, work's good, MTG is okay. I don't think it's... Oh, okay, there's going to be show and tell. Well, I guess we put in Bayou. And try to draw into Caracas. But, you know, drawing into Caracas is a pretty low percentage rate, let's be honest. So I don't think this is going to happen. Yeah. Sadly, that's just magic sometimes. Chokes are fine because I can slow them down. I don't mind Deafening Silence. Chalice on 0 is fine because it stops Lotus Petal. Chalice on 1 is okay. I think we're definitely taking out all swords. So that's why I kind of like the chalices. And I think it's just decays that come out as well. Something like this. Plague Engineer is probably dead as well. So I probably don't mind Gaddock Teeg. And maybe just a Path, just in case. Caracas is fetchable with a card like Knight, but unfortunately not off Windswept Heath. I think this is okay. This is going to be pretty rough. Hey, Mark. Yeah, Meddling Mage and Pyroblast would be really nice here. Pyroblast with Deafening Silence is a very cool mix. But Unfortunately, that's not for us. Yeah, this is a pretty, like, average hand, but I'm not going to throw this back. It's a turn 2 knight. We have Caracas. Yeah, Containment Priest is a card that I've been wanting to play a little bit more of, especially since the rise of Goblins and also Espervile. Alright, opponent. So I really want to see a non-basic here, but I don't think I'll see one. Come on, dual land. Come on, dual land. Ah! Never lucky. But yeah, I think Containment Priest is in a pretty interesting position. Even against the standstill decks, to have another creature with flash is really interesting. I think he was just trying to slam knight and get some pressure online, but it's not looking too good. What did they do with the ponder? Hopefully it was a shuffle. They chose not to shuffle, okay. So like City of Traders, okay, this isn't looking too bad. But now we really have to draw something to interact. Thalia is okay. Brainstorm's fine. That's interesting. Is there a world where I wasteland myself to make this knight a 5/5? Yeah, it's going to be pretty good. So if we're currently attacking for 3, put him to 15, and then it's pretty much just a 5-turn clock. But I could change that by wastelanding myself. Definitely playing the bird. Yeah. Not the greatest play, but I think making this a shorter clock is definitely where I want to be. And I'm pretty happy to just start attacking here with all my creatures, or at least next turn I can attack with the Thalia as well, which adds 1 above Exalted. I don't think that Wasteland is doing enough here against my opponent, so I think going for just Wasteland myself is fine. Once. I think waste, and then just I can put in Caracas off a show and tell if they have it. So I'm going to go once first. Oh, Knight of Autumn's pretty good. Knight of Autumn means I probably want to put in the Caracas. Yeah, okay, that's perfect. And now just attack for 6, which puts them down to 7, and then we have lethal with Wasteland anyway. Yeah, they knew it. Very cool, okay. Well, at least now we get to die in 3 games rather than 2. I'm probably okay just sending back the same list. I don't think there's anything here that I want. Even the extra path seems not the greatest, but we can see. I keep hitting my screen. Sorry. This is unfortunately a mulligan. Yeah, okay, we'll keep this. And I think I just bottom the second knight. I kind of want everything else. Just going to go for a Savannah and play the Chalice for 0 first. This could be irrelevant, but it's just a case of not having enough cards to board in that are relevant. Sadly, Show just isn't a deck that I really want to sideboard against heavily. Just because even sideboarding heavily, it doesn't get you anywhere. So I'd rather make sure that my matchups that are 50-50 can maybe be 55-60 instead of just making a 90-10, an 85-20-15. Now it's an interesting one because it's either Knight or Knight of Autumn. Knight of Autumn deals with Omniscience. Knight gets us Caracas, which means if they put in a creature, then it's a lot better. So Sido and Strass, what would you do here? What would you put in if next turn they cast Show and Tell? Would you put in Knight or Knight? Ponder chose not to shuffle. Okay. I think my only good draw here is probably Thalia. Once. Okay. That's pretty interesting as well. Yeah, I think it is Knight of Autumn. All right. Drawn from Dreams. That's going to be fine. I wonder if we want to cast Choke next turn. If this once can find Caracas and then we can play Choke, I would be very happy. So thankfully they can't even counter this once because of Deafening Silence. Well, there's Wasteland and also Thalia. I think I definitely want the Wasteland to make sure I have a third land. But now we get to untap and draw Noble Hierarch. I think it's Choke. The only issue is that with a deck that cares about 1 blue and 2, they already have the 2, which Choke doesn't answer. So my other thought process is playing Knight. If they have Force, they have Force. But then we still have Knight of Autumn to put in off the Show and Tell. It looks like they were digging though, so maybe there's a case for just going for choke because they're not. I think the Drawn from Dreams tells us that they really want to close this match out, and they don't have either one or both pieces of the combo. And I assume by looking at the top 7, they probably at least have one. So maybe from that, it's worth considering them to have to dig for the others. Yeah, I think choke as force bait is also not too bad. Because I don't really care if this resolves. It does, which is nice, but it's yeah, it's not as great as it could be. And I think here we're still on the plan of Night of Autumn over the big night. Yeah. And just hope it isn't a creature. I'm going to take another screenshot because this is pretty interesting. Hiya! Ah, nice. Nice. And they can't do anything in response because of Deafening Silence, which is pretty fantastic. And now they choked out. Ah, the best feeling. Take it! Ha ha! Ah. Always a pleasure to play against Show and Tell. Thank you, Struss. Thank you, Saito. Very nice. Very nice. I guess we do, at least with Night of Autumn, we know we're not going to die that turn. And we can still draw a Karakas at the top, which gives us an out to the creature. So there are probably more outs to having Night of Autumn go in off Show and Tell than there are Night of the Reliquary. Very cool. And to be fair, I haven't been playing Night of Autumn. I've been playing Kusali Primage, so big thank you to Achilles there for giving me a list with Night in Green White Black Maverick. The entire Wu-Tang Clan. This is a pretty rough one because of the Cradle. I think I'm gonna mulligan this. I just don't want to keep a hand where the mana is gonna really put me behind. This is probably fine. I'm going to keep this. And I think it's the Oof that I'm going to drop. I think that Oof is just the silver bullet in this hand that I'd rather in the deck as a Green Sun's target if I really need it. Because it's probably the most vanilla card out of these three. OBB and classic. Yeah, I think we bottom the Oof. Flooded Strand. Astrolabe. Alright. So I probably want to find a Noble Hierarchical Bird here off the once. Yeah, it is a cool card. I think especially with Jide and an all-time low, you don't need to be accessing removal for artifacts or enchantments in your opponent's turn as much as usual. Wow, they're going to force that. Interesting. It's a very aggressive force. But yeah, Knight's nice, especially the, you know, if it's not relevant in a matchup, maybe the 4 life is, and maybe just having it as a 4/3 is. Windswept Teeth. I don't think I'm going to play around back to basics here. I'm just going to play the Scrubland and play the Thalia out. Nice. Wow, they missed a land drop. That is huge. Happy to attack first. And then hopefully get a knight into play. They're down to 5 cards. Just gonna go for a basic here. Play knight. If they had Ice Fang, I think they would have done it in their turn to try to draw into a land to play it. Oh, they had Terminus. Okay, I didn't see that coming. I guess that would have been a great reason to keep the Oof, because then they couldn't make a white mana. But they're going to miss another land drop. Wow. Alright. Well, now I definitely like probably going with Plague first and name Snake so that we can attack. Samuel L. Jackson would be proud. Hopefully not Oko. Uro. Okay, that's pretty good. But they don't have a land to put into play? Interesting. Decay is pretty interesting as well. But I think I want to hold up the Decay for now. Especially if they drop an Uro, an Oko. I do want to have up these two. Because I probably don't mind them spending their whole turn to get back Uro if they do have another land. Mystic Sanctuary. Oko's fine. Knight's pretty nice. And now we can also hold up Sword for Uro. Alright, get them beats going. Looks like Uro from the bin. Which isn't the worst because we do have this swords. And I probably want a swords in response to any sort of triggers. So they can't draw into force or put in like Caracas to return it. but they have force. Alright. You need Sylvan? We just drew Sylvan, which is really nice. So I think here we sadly just want to go Karakas the Uro. And attack for 3. I could also go after their mana. So if we Karakas it, they replay it. They take 3, they gain 3, and draw a card. But at least here they have to attack into the Plague Engineer. I could also play the second Plague Engineer. Maybe that's better. I'm going to sack the Dryad Arbor here. Get a fetch. Get Bayou and play this Plague. I think I'm just going to name Snake again. So that if they do want to trade the Uro here for a Plague Engineer, then they can. Probably don't want to attack. The attack doesn't really achieve anything because they're going to gain 3 off the Uro of the attack. And I'd rather make them have 2 removal spells than just 1. Hey, World Gorger, thanks for the raid. How was your stream? What did you play? Entreat even for 1 here is really nice. For 2, sorry, yeah. Hey, maybe. Welcome to the stream. Yeah, they're just going to attack into it. Alright. But no land. That's pretty sweet because it means they don't have, like, Swords to Plowshares after blocks. Alright, this is the big turn. Entreat kind of counters the Sylvan Library, which is rough, but I think for now that's okay. I'm going to put this on top and pay for the once. World Gorger combo goblins? Interesting. That's very cool. I'm going to once first. I think it's just Wasteland here. But then it's a question of would they... Bog is not main deck, unfortunately. We're not playing Bog in the 75. I think I'm definitely attacking with the Plague Engineer. But I'm holding back the Knight. Play Oof and hit their Mystic Sanctuary. Oko's pretty good. Especially with 2 4/4s in play. If they hit the Knight here, I think we just go and get Horizon Canopy. Because at least it gives us an extra draw effect. We still have 1 more Abrupt Decay in the deck. Ooh, Questing Beast. Doesn't do much here. Put on top. Put on top. Probably could have paid for the fetch land. Go to 13. And then at least we have some outs. Hey, maybe that's more than fine. You have a Discord for World Gorger shenanigans. Yeah, World Gorger is interesting. It's seen a lot of play in some bug decks as of the past few months, which is really interesting. Now, how do I want to attack? It's probably Oko, just these two. If they want to trade an angel, they can. To be fair, I think it's just getting rid of the Oko here. I don't think these creatures really do much, but it means that they can trade the angel for the knight. And if they, yeah, it means they can trade the angel for the, they can keep their angels and deal with our knight and collect oof. I think we're just in a really tough spot. They're going to trade them. Interesting. Okay. I guess now they get Uro back if they have a forest, or if they have a way to deal with the oof, which they do with the Oko. So, yeah, this is looking pretty bad. And Terminus is going to short this game up. Rough. Boarding is going to be interesting. I don't mind Choke. I don't mind Gaddock Teeg just because of Terminus and also Vraska. Plagues are fine. I might take out one. I do like that Plague does, in a way, answer Ice Vanquidal without having to deal with it with an actual card, which is kind of nice. I'm going to drop a Knight because they just don't really do much in this matchup, unfortunately. Ramanap as well just doesn't do a whole lot. Kai is nice. Knight of Autumn's nice. Hey Doomwake, thanks for the follow. Let me know where you're from. If you play Legacy, what you play in Legacy. I'm going to drop a Wasteland as well. I think that's probably the 4 cuts. You could also cut on Mana Accelerants because of cards like Terminus, Dead of Winter, and Supreme Verdict, but I think this is okay. Hey Matt, hope you're well. Hey Maybe, thanks for the follow. Hey Cal, haha. No work on Fridays, which is nice. So had last night in, and then today we're just playing a few matches. You're from the States, big fan of 4-color Loam. When I get the chance to play, nice. Yeah, 4-color Loam is really nice. Not just the deck, but also the community. Really good set of people, especially guys like Matt Vuk, Connor, obviously a big fan. Chalice is an interesting one. Chalice is kind of annoying because it shuts off our best way to answer Uro, which is Swords to Plowshares. I don't think I'll play another league, but maybe because Adrian's away this weekend, we'll see. I don't think Leyline is worth it. Because I believe their main way to use their graveyard is just Uro. I don't believe they run Snap. And if they do, it's probably a 1 of or 2 of. I think this is going to be fine, but we'll see how it goes. Haha. Yeah, 4-color Loam pretty good against Eldrazi decks, I assume. This hand is sweet, I'll keep this. It's a turn 2 Kaya, which is very cool. So we're just going to use the Verdant Catacombs to get a Bayou. Hey, Wyatt Hyena, thanks for the follow. Let me know where you're from. If you play Legacy, what you play in Legacy. Let's see how this one goes. So, Verdant. If they start on Astrolabe, I'm really happy because the Kaya deals with Astrolabe in a really nice way. And I assume this Noble won't get swords even if they have one. Because of the amount of removal they have in Sweepers, they probably don't really care about it. They'd rather save the swords for like other... Okay, they don't. Okay, take that all back. Second swords is pretty rough. I'm just going to go with Windswept Heath here and pass. Pond is fine. And then Astrolabe is going to be okay. Nice. So they have 5 cards. Thalia. I think Kai is just better here, and I'm just going to get a basic to play around back to basics, because that card is a big punisher. Black Kaya, please. Yes. Tick down on Astrolabe. We're dreaming. We're dreaming. Very nice. Opponent reading Kaya, I believe, here. Kaya, a very cool card because it deals with things like Astrolabe and also sticks onto the field. All right. Nice. So here we get to get rid of these 2. Hey Wolf, welcome. Bit of slivers, fish and goblins, less so fish these days with engineer. Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, Maverick's pretty sweet. It's a little bit tough against snow because of how well this deck can grind, but I'm never unhappy to see it. I don't think I want to use the Green Suns here. I just want to play out the Thalia because it just keeps my opponent from... keeps taxing my opponent, which is kind of nice. Hey Ramar, welcome. Yeah, I'm a pretty big fan of Esper Vile if I was going to play a tribal deck right now. Even though it's a mixture of creature types, I think that it's probably the best Vile deck at the moment. Apart from, probably Goblins is up there as well, even though the Turbo variant is very good right now. Hexdrink is interesting. Get rid of these 2. Happy to attack. Yeah, I think that as there's some new printings, Maverick becomes a bit more consistent than it usually is, which is probably its biggest... the best thing going for it, let's just say. I'm just going to take up Hexdrinker and pass back. Brainstorm's okay. This is probably just going to be a Terminus, which isn't the worst. The Hexdrinker goes back into the deck, but... Yeah, Kaya's ult is a thing. I think that a lot of people just don't really realize how good it is, or how yeah, much it's gonna be there, which is nice. Also, the +1 has so many relevant pieces to hit. Yeah, Terminus is a card that obviously hasn't seen too much play recently, but in this deck it's pretty nice. I mean, if you're casting things like Uro or Ice Fang, then you don't really mind getting them put back into your deck because of all the card advantage you just get off them. Hey Boyd. Haha. Yeah, Friday stream. Always a good time for it. I didn't stream last night either, so I wanted to at least make up for that. Yeah, Kai is sweet, especially if they do go for a an Astrolabe here. We can hopefully just deal with it. Yeah. This is fine. Haha, things in the future are well, thank you. Sadly, there's still some things around. Definitely dealing with this. Probably happy just to go Green Suns for Dried Arbor to build out my mana, and then play the Gaddock Teeg. Yeah, sorry man. Yeah, wanted to stream this morning. So I guess they could have Swords to Plowshares here, which deals with the Gaddock Teeg. Okay. They still have 4 cards. Crucible. They're playing Crucible? Interesting. Pretty happy to attack first. Did not think Crucible would be coming in this matchup. Especially when they're not, like, going to be hit by Wasteland, playing so many basics. I'm going to get rid of Swords. Now, I'm just going to get rid of both Misties because of the Crucible here. They can still fetch with their Misty, but I think that's okay. And now I'm pretty happy just to go with Knight. I have 2 cards left. Okay, well that's a reason to get rid of the Swords, I guess. Probably pretty stupid, especially since they already have a Misty, there's no real need for it. Yeah, they could flashback the Swords in response. Here, I'm pretty happy just to keep Kyra alive, because that's currently my my main way of winning this matchup. But I should have done it in my turn, because then they can just cast a hardcast Force of Will here. Just pretty brutal. That's just lazy. Thalia is pretty sweet. Let's get rid of Ponder and probably Terminus because of Mystic Sanctuary, which they could fetch for if they wanted to. No, okay. Guess they could have Ice Fang here. Which trading for Dried Arbor isn't the worst, let's be honest. No. Interesting, just fetching for the sake of it. Yeah, I guess it would have stopped me from casting the Knight. Ice Fang is fine. Snap. Okay. This is where a card like Zealous Persecution is just so good. Put Force back on top. Okay. Birds. Doesn't do a whole lot. Interesting that we know about Force on top. I think we're okay with just holding up the Swords for now. I don't really want a Swords Snapcast Mage. The Swords is really for Uro, let's be honest, so it would be a pretty big feel bad if I have to Swords one of these creatures. Yeah, especially in this matchup. I guess I don't mind trying to Swords this now. They have to have blue card and Force in hand. Okay. This is probably fine. They have no cards, so I think a double block is fine. Not the greatest play, but it's not a good spot either way. It's tough because I definitely I don't want to keep all 4 swords in the matchup, but I just feel with Uro you kind of have to. I think this is fine. Put the Kai to 3. Maybe there's a world where I can get the Kai up to 5, then just ulti it, but it's going to be pretty tough. Well, we lost the first game. Yeah. It just grinds so well. And especially in this matchup with the snaps, I just didn't really expect it. Hey Thorn, you can find the deck on the screen as well. Probably a matchup where I really want that second Sylvan library. Yeah. Probably not even a spot where I have to block. There's no real outs for this Kaya anyway. Plague is interesting. But I mean, it still doesn't do a whole lot because of the Crucible. I mean, we get to name Snake. Yeah. Probably pretty happy to block the snap instead. Get rid of these two. I feel like this night isn't long for the world, unfortunately. But we can grind. We can see what happens. Okay, just yeah, so overwhelming. Elk of the Reliquary. It has a nice ring to it. Ban 3 mana walkers. Yeah, Oko's just rough because for a deck like this, it's just a kind of sub game that I have to deal with. I mean, there's a world where I just get to stick the Kaya, but it's gonna be tough. They switch. That's interesting, because if we draw Caracas here, we can return it. We don't. Interesting trade. I'm not sure why. Because now we have two blockers. One in Ice Fang and one in Dryad Arbor. Oh, it's in the bin. That's why. But yeah, just like a land here is pretty much GG. Even if we crack the food here, Kaya loses to the 3/3 Thalia. And we don't have a way to deal with the Oko. I'll probably rather force them to use the food, because then at least it's just one less threat that I have to deal with down the road. Wasteland probably doing more for me as well here, because it means I can still Green Suns for Questing Beast and hold the fetch up. Yeah. Rough. Snow just, yeah. Obviously the better deck to grind with, which is a little bit unfortunate, but the deck felt really nice. So this is the list here. Like Vraska would have been pretty sweet. Just having more ways to deal with snow permanents, but also gain some sort of advantage is nice. It's just, yeah, it's just pretty tough. Kai is exactly where you want to be. You want to have a permanent that deals with other permanents but sticks around. Same with Knight of Autumn. Same with Plague Engineer. Yeah, I think the list is really solid. Personally, I do like the second Sylvan. So I probably would cut some amount of Once Upon a Time for the second Sylvan Library, just to make sure I can see it. Because having one in the deck, you don't really see it too often. I think we maybe saw it in one game there, which is pretty rough. But yeah, that is it. I'll be back on Sunday morning with probably a different Maverick variant. Maybe 4-color. So Strass, thanks for the list. Probably something like this. I do want to play around with Stoneforge again, because it does seem pretty sweet. But a huge thank you to you guys for coming in. A huge thank you to the Dragon guys for the raid. If you want to find me on YouTube, you can find me on YouTube here. If you want to find me on Twitter, you can find me on Twitter here. You can also find me at the Green Sun Zenith, a website dedicated to Legacy Maverick. Let's just see who else is currently playing some Legacy and if we can raid them. Ah, the Legacy Pit, nice. Whatever happened to the banned Maverick lists with Brainstorm? Were they any good? I was a big fan. So the reason why I liked Brainstorm was that it did a few things. So in a deck where you're playing a bunch of silver bullets, it's sometimes pretty rough to draw them against decks where they're just irrelevant. So drawing Collector Oof against Elves is pretty bad. And once you have a hand with Maverick, you kind of have to play out with it. Things like Swords to Plowshares against Ant or Storm feel pretty bad as well, and kind of give you these mulligans that you just don't want to have. So even if you keep a 7 and it has double swords and your opponent goes, Chrome Mox into something, you're like, well, this is probably just going to be a 5. So at least with Brainstorm, it allows you to get out of those situations by putting these cards back into the deck. It's pretty good because we have fetch lands, and then on top of that we also have Knight for shuffles, and also Green Suns. It's a way to deal with the hands that you keep that aren't actually positioned well against the matchup that you're playing against. So that's why I really like Brainstorm. Yeah, Savine's Reclamation is very cool. I do like this card, especially with Teferi and Oko in the deck. I might even come back to this on Sunday and see how it goes, because it does have a lot of play to it, and I just enjoy playing it. It's just like a pretty sweet deck that I kind of think has a lot of room to grow. Twinless Twin is also playing. Goblins. But yeah, I think that Brainstorm plays a different role to Once Upon a Time, because Once Upon a Time is about digging for things that you want to draw into, but Brainstorm is more about changing up your hand to find the right side of the deck. Because I think with Maverick, you do have a few games, you do have a lot of games where you keep a hand and it's just the wrong side of your deck. You've kept a Swords hand against, you know, Tess, and you've kept like a Knight of Autumn collective hand against Delver, which is pretty rough. Corsair would be sweet. I would love to play Corsair in this list. I might find room for it somewhere. Maybe even like the Gilded Goose is a little bit on edge. Sylvan Sabekeeper I actually really like as a one-off, because you can find it with Green Suns and it gives instant speed protection. And especially with Corsair, Sylvan's actually pretty cool. But I'm going to finish it there. I'm going to raid the Legacy Pit because they are very cool people. Nice. Again, a huge thank you once again. A huge thank you to the followers. A huge thank you to the resubs. Enjoy your Fridays, enjoy your weekends, and I'll see you on Sunday. If not before, I might stream tomorrow. We'll see. Thank you very much.